A major media shift is shaping up in Hollywood. Bob Agnew reports.
HBO Max, Top Gun, CBS, and CNN may all be placed under the control of the upstart Paramount Skydance soon. That's because shareholders of Warner Brothers Discovery approved an $81 billion sale of the company on Thursday. The deal, including debt, valued at nearly $111 billion. If approved, the mega merger would vastly reshape Hollywood and the wider media landscape. It would further consolidate power in an industry already run by just a handful of major players. Bob Agnew reporting.
In the latest round of tech industry job cuts, Meta is laying off about 8,000 workers, and Microsoft is offering buyouts to a similar number. Meta confirmed Thursday it plans to cut about 10% of its workforce in an effort to invest in other parts of its business. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters. The most notable draft in
This program is brought to you in part by Ability Tree Experts. Ability Tree Experts, Houston's leading tree care professionals. Call 281-441-4179.
Checo Pro Joe here. Join me this Saturday at 11 a.m. when Andrew from A&A Gem Pro Generators discusses whole home standby generators and the peace of mind they bring. That's this Saturday at 11, right here on AM 700 KSEV, the voice of Texas.
Dan Patrick for my friend Louis Flory and Ability Tree Experts. Spring is here and summer just around the corner, which means it's time to deep root fertilize your trees in addition to spraying for insects and disease. Let Ability Trees help maintain their value and repair all damage. Fed and pruned tree will be less susceptible to wind damage and uprooting. Caring for the beautiful and valuable trees on your property that you can't replace should be done by experts. And the experts I use, it's very clear. It's Ability Tree Experts and Louis Flory, my friend for over 40 years. Gosh, this guy is the pro when it comes to taking care of trees. You know, pruning is important for the health of your trees, and pruning limits resistance to spring storms and allows the sun and fresh air into the canopy. Trees can be in distress several months without showing any signs, so don't wait to protect your investment at 281-441-4179, 281-441-4179, or visit their website at abilitytrees.com. Right now, Ability Trees is giving a deep root feeding with every tree pruned. Ability Trees, Houston's leading tree care professional.
Hi, this is Paul Betancourt. Property values may have peaked, making 2026 a must-year to protest your property taxes. Sign up with my excellent Betancourt tax advisor team at btanow.com, as our experienced senior property tax agents and customer service matter. The tax man says do it now.
Sign up with Betancourt Tax Advisors by going online to btanow.com or by calling Paul's professional property team at 713-263-6100.
Where should I begin?
Can we talk about this?
Say, what are you trying to say?
Beyond the usual controversial talk.
Blah, 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 on and on and on.
Over there.
One, two, cha-cha-cha. 1, 2, cha-cha-cha.
Prepare yourself.
Okay.
For Craig.
Okay.
Preparing a mighty new spectacle here.
Articulate. Stimulating. Hit you right in the... there you go.
We start becoming a team right now.
This is the Craig Collins Show.
Lord Jesus. Oh, Lord, no.
Start talking. Talk fast.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
Now your host.
He's a good man.
Craig.
That's right. It is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. So thrilled to be with you on a Thursday. A couple programming notes that are kind of cool. Well, one of them is fairly cool, at least to me. But I'm a little bit of a radio nerd, so it might not be cool to you might not care at all, to be honest. But I'm going to tell you, Brian Kilmeade will be doing his show live from KSEV Radio tomorrow. He didn't mention it on his show today, which I think we were kind of hoping for the name drop. Not upset with Kilmeade. We were just hoping for a little bit of I'm going to be in the Houston area, and I'm going to be at KSEV Radio doing my nationally syndicated radio show from their studios. Maybe he'll say it tomorrow when he's actually here. And I think he's also going to be on TV. I don't know if that'll be from these studios. I'm guessing it won't be. I'm guessing he'll do Fox and Friends from somewhere else. But Brian Kilmeade going to be hanging out here tomorrow. This is also a programming note, just a selfish one. I will be in for Dana Lash on Monday and Tuesday. So if you tune into Dana's show somewhere else in this market, which in the near future, we will have an announcement about the Dana show and where it will appear on radio in Houston, and I'm looking forward to us talking more about that sometime in the near future. But if you don't right now, there's other ways to get it. My way that I suggest is just go online to Dana's show. It's everywhere. I think it even live streams on iHeartRadio. So it's just a bunch of places that you can find it or listen to her podcast, whatever it might be. But Brian Kilmeade, the Fox and Friends star and the star of his own show, will be here tomorrow. At least that's what we think. That's what we were told last. So we'll see what happens there. A lot of stuff to get to today. Lots of things that I think are probably very important. None may be more important than the ongoing fallout with the ridiculous amount of problems that seem to be surrounding the SPLC. This was a group that said they were fighting hate, and they, put people out there that they said were, harming society. And then it seems they were paying a whole lot of those people, including, of course, giving money directly to the KKK. This would be destructive in the form of a discussion if it were a Republican organization of some kind that said it was somehow fighting hate from Democrats. Like, I can't fathom how news media doesn't care more about this story, and some places are pretending as though this is political prosecution when a grand jury found that this organization is incredibly guilty of a whole lot of terrible money laundering and other things, essentially funding the hate they said they were fighting. The president talked about this today. Several other people talked about this today. Let's go ahead and play some audio from the president.
Defend what just happened where your southern law, whatever it is, has given money to KKK. They're supposed to protect people, and they're paying all these people, crooked as can be, millions of dollars going all to all these people that they're supposed to be protecting from, but they're actually supporting them because they want to have companies that they can protect and because they want to rig elections. That was all a rigged election. All of the things with Charlottesville, all of the stuff that they did.
Go, Mr. President, go.
Bring that up, but you'll bring up some nonsense. Let me tell you, the election, we were winning all day long. It's a totally horrible situation. Hopefully.
Yeah, the stuff with the SPLC is uniquely terrible because, again, that's an organization that said that they were fighting certain levels of hate and other things in our society, and then it appears as though they were, and this is their excuse, paying people to infiltrate these organizations. And so the people that were cashing the checks, the SPLC wants you to believe they're the good guys still. I have a lot of other reactions that I thought were interesting. A couple of them from the Daily Wire, from both Michael Knowles and then actually Matt Walsh, who both appeared on a show together. Let me go ahead and play some of that audio because I thought it was pretty interesting. Here's Michael Knowles first.
But 3 years ago, the SPLC was working with the DOJ. The SPLC was telling the DOJ how to go out and spy on Catholic churches, telling them to categorize Catholics as akin to domestic terrorists, was working with the Biden administration very, very closely to identify enemies and go prosecute them. Now, the DOJ is raiding the SPLC, is getting indictments from grand juries to prosecute the SPLC. That is a complete 180. It's a massive win for justice. And it shows you that elections do matter. And you don't always get exactly what you want. We got about 700,000 formal deportations last year, depending on how you count the self-deportations, which I think are pretty serious, up to 1 million or a little over 1 million. So, okay, call it 2 million. And then you don't have the 3 million illegals coming into the country that you had under Biden. So that's a net win of 5 million illegal aliens who aren't in the country now who would have been otherwise. Do I wish it were 10? Do I wish it were 15? I do. Do I wish that the economy were juicing even more than it is? Sure. Do I wish this, that, and the other? Yeah. I wish all of that. But guys, had Kamala won, the SPLC would be working with the DOJ right now to go prosecute you and your friends and your leaders. And
yeah, that's 100% true. By the way, the SPLC would not be at all investigated and indicted. They would be propped up and used to do more and more terrible things. Let's go ahead and play Matt Walsh's audio too, because I thought so many of these reactions were so valuable to lump together. And then we'll talk a little bit more about that.
Now, it's the kind of strategy that's effective because unless you're extremely familiar with how depraved left-wing activists are, it would never occur to you that they're doing any of this. But they feel a need to do it because otherwise there would be no right-wing hate groups. If the SPLC did not fund them, they would not exist. And then Democrats would lose power and the SPLC would run out of money. Now, it's the same reason that your antivirus software bugs you all the time. If your antivirus software told you the truth, which is that you really don't need to pay for antivirus software anymore,
you do not.
Then obviously nobody would subscribe. So instead, they pester you with fake threats and scare tactics. And it's kind of the same principle, except in the case of the SPLC, they were having a substantial effect on American politics.
Yeah, not just substantial. They were doing a lot more than having a substantial impact on politics. They were impacting people's lives. But I thought that was really great. And what Matt Walsh says about antivirus software, yes. In our current society, the two biggest developers of computers and computer software, they both put a whole bunch of antivirus software on their platforms anyway. I still think Apple's better at it than Windows, but neither one really needs you to have an outside antivirus software of its own. I thought that was hilarious as a comparison. And I don't mean to dive down that rabbit hole for a little bit too long. Because, yeah, essentially what we've seen now is exactly what you voted for playing out the way you wanted it to play out, and people may not be paying enough attention. The Southern Poverty Law Center, which you should look up, and you should also look up the indictment that came from a grand jury. It didn't come from some right-wing activist who said, this terrible thing is happening over here, and this was a couple days ago now, of course, but the fallout for this should grow. It shouldn't die. It shouldn't be the kind of thing that we just stop talking about and stop thinking about because, and this is what I said, and I'll be blue in the face. I'll say this as many times as I need to. This is why leading up to the 2024 election, it was so important to elect President Trump. It just was. And it's not because you can give Trump all the credit alone for like every single thing that happens. You can if you want to. I wouldn't care if you did. But I don't think that he'd even demand all of the credit for all of this. People that he put in positions of power, Kash Patel at the FBI, one of those people, outsiders, people who are not beholden to any sort of special interest group like the SPLC that can control you and manipulate you and cause you not to out the system that we all want to be destroyed. We want political corruption, the way Washington works, to be fully upended. And these are the steps that get us there. In my opinion, it's one of the biggest dominoes to fall so far, or potentially fall, as there's going to be ongoing litigation here. But it's a grand jury indictment. And I love how some people will say, and this is often said after whatever side you're on gets hit with something, that a grand jury would indict a ham sandwich. That's usually the version of a thing. But then if it happens the other way, that same side of the aisle, if it's something where Trump gets indicted, they'll yell and scream it from the rooftops that it's the most important thing you've ever seen. So they can't decide which part of that to be on. But it's not just one lone person operating in a certain way saying something was bad. And I think that the excuse is sort of disgusting. The excuse being that all of this money was funneled to people who are infiltrating these organizations, spying on them, giving us the pertinent information we need, and, returning that information to the SPLC. Now, there's one other thing that has gone viral, and it's a little odd. I don't know. I am going to play it because I think it's interesting. Charlie Kirk had appeared on the Ingram show, Laura Ingram, just days before he was shot and killed. And he had mentioned that the SPLC was targeting Turning Point USA, including high school chapters of the organization that he started, and listing him as one of the people who was dangerous in our society. And within a short time of that happening, Charlie Kirk was dead. And so more and more people are now remembering this moment on television, talking about this moment on television. And I'm not trying to Candace Owens right now on the radio. I'm not trying to connect dots that aren't connectable yet. I just thought it was important to mention that this is going viral because people are wondering how pushing someone to the forefront of a radical discussion, saying that Charlie Kirk is a danger to society, enables someone somewhere to think that it's them who needs to act. And Charlie even mentions that after the SPLC lists some high school organizations on its website as bad, there were shooters that showed up at schools. So this is a real story. I want to play this. This is Charlie Kirk audio shortly before he's shot and killed, where he's mentioning an organization that now, almost a year later, is in the news for being indicted and being a organization that funded a whole lot of hate and a whole lot of horrible things that they claim they were fighting against.
Understand that they're literally putting high school chapters of ours on a hate group next to the KKK. and next to neo-Nazi groups. And I mean, we can laugh this off. There's an element to this. Remember that there was a shooter that went to the Family Research Council years ago, inspired by the SPLC list. This is them trying to make us basically surrender at Turning Point USA. We're going to do the opposite, and our students are only going to lean in even more. But they can't debate us on our ideas. They cannot have dialogue. They cannot actually go onto the merits of why they are right or why we might be wrong. Instead, they must smear us with the age-old one-liner that you are a racist or that you are a hater. And they're finally realizing the power of Turning Point USA, which is why they put us on this
when you're
list.
effective. When you, by the way, when you put them on that list and try to focus on them as a new organization that you think is somehow bad or terrible or something like it, you are pushing further and further to get someone to pay attention in a way that winds up being as horrible as the people who do things like shoot and kill Charlie Kirk. And so I just thought that was sort of amazing that in light of the story that broke a couple days ago, broke actually during the show a couple days ago, that now you have old audio of Charlie Kirk name-dropping the organization and saying how they were fighting him and fighting his high school chapters of Turning Point USA, 15, 16, 17, 18-year-old people, and saying that somehow they're horrible and terrible. By the way, actually, that offers me an ability to transition to something else that I thought was really interesting and went viral. There's also the Daily Wire. I'm not trying to prop up Ben Shapiro's organization too much, but it's a young woman who is a part of the Daily Wire. Her name is Isabel Brown. She is talking about an issue that is important to a lot of young voters, ways in which young voters are becoming more and more upset with the society in which we live, the opportunities that they don't have, the things that they haven't acquired in their lives yet, like houses and whatnot. This is her version of the catalyst to those problems and how it's actually being solved by the current administration, even though many of those young voters, according to a lot of news media, no longer support Trump and this administration. They're no longer happy with the things happening because of what's going on in Iran and the price of gas. But I thought this was a really great way to point out where another solution is being offered, and hopefully that solution is going to pay dividends to a generation of people that feel like they can't find the avenues to success that generations before them found. I'm a millennial, so this is Gen Z that's getting talked about. I don't think millennials really feel like it was that much easier to find avenue. And honestly, I bet you that's true of every generation. I doubt any generation sits there and goes, oh, yeah, it was easy for me. No problem at all whatsoever. But I thought this was interesting because it really highlights how fighting illegal immigration can be at the heart of helping people get jobs that aren't finding jobs right now. The they took our jobs thing, but done in a very serious way.
The Gen Z unemployment rate is at a record high right now, with 10 million members of our generation currently unemployed and seeking meaningful employment. Now, the government's solution to that throughout the past several years has been to import cheap labor that they don't have to pay as much as they pay you from all over the world, and to make sure those jobs are not available to you. They are available to people who don't even have the qualifications necessarily for the jobs that you are seeking, and paid $250,000+ for that magic degree that gave you the right to pursue that job in the job market. Of course, I'm wildly frustrated about this. I think you should be too, that the answer from Congress to save our GDP is to just allow 10 million people who are here in this country illegally to stay and keep those jobs, because it's cheaper for the United States economy. Some things matter a whole lot more than 5 percentage points on our GDP. This is what I hear from young men. And yet, when I hear about criticism related to new green cards or ending mass amnesty programs, they just target young men more than anybody else by being xenophobic or racist or hateful. There's nothing xenophobic, racist, or hateful about it. It is a system that has been consistently selling out the opportunities of our generation for everyone else around the world. And frankly, it's just not sustainable if we're serious about prospering and finding our own American dream.
And it's not
Harry,
fair.
what's your response?
I just want to quickly circle back to the fact that Isabel was not able to name a war that Joe Biden got into because the
I already am going to stop it. I don't even care about the things that Harry says there. But yes, I think that Isabel does a great job of pointing out one of the reasons that fighting the amount of people who are here illegally and the things that they do within our economy illegally again, fighting that has a side benefit of helping people who are unemployed and currently legal within this country. And I've said this a lot of times, and I will say it again, and I don't care if you think it's more of like a woke position or not. It's not intent to be. But I think that actually funneling out or removing people who work illegally helps people that want to legally work in this country from somewhere else, because it gives them real jobs. It doesn't give them under-the-table crappy jobs where, a whole lot of things can be unfair to them as well as anybody else. You hear the Nancy Pelosi's of the world say if we kick out illegal immigrants, who's going to pick our food? That's a real thing she says, and it's inherently racist to say that, in all honesty, because it's actually basically advocating for people who are doing something at a rate of pay that is so much less than what it should be because they can get away with it, because the people who are here illegally don't have a right to fight it. So it's so weird. It's so the exact opposite of the stuff that the left claims that they're a proponent of, claims that they're fighting to help people in certain situations. I think removing the ability for people to be here illegally and work here illegally actually helps people that want to come from other countries and work here. There's a bunch of visa programs that could be used, especially farmers can use, to bring people in if they need people to be here in this country and work legit jobs. And that would be in a moment, unlike right now, where you actually would see how many Americans are willing to work a job where the job is fair, where the amount of pay you get is at least minimum wage, where there's certain aspects of, if you're a full-time employee, certain protections you get being legal, that being illegal you simply don't get. Yes, it is something that actually helps the youngest generation, entry-level positions, become available to more and more people. So I just thought it was a really well-done argument, and it came from, again, a place of this is something that's happening right now, that if you're starting to turn and say, I'm unhappy with President Trump, I'm unhappy with this administration, you're really just listening to mainstream media, one, and two, you're focused on very few things. You're not seeing the grand picture of the stuff that might still be going better than you believe it's going, the things that are helping you more. I mean, crime is down all over the country. That would normally be a pretty big success to most people. For some reason, it seems to not be highlighted enough, and you know why, for this administration, because of how much media wants the end result of the midterm election and any other election to be, we hate Trump, we have to vote against him and anybody who's in his orbit. All right, we got to take a break. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, not a lot of time to do it with just a one-hour show, but thrilled to be with you today on Thursday. Back tomorrow, of course, on Friday with the Amigos. And I'll just mention this one more time. If you listen to Brian Kilmeade, who is just after the Chris Salcedo show on this station, he will be live from Houston, Texas tomorrow, which is pretty cool. I might be coming in a little early. I might plan on doing it. I usually don't have to be there quite that early. I might swing by. I might have to pick some. I might forget something at the station and say hi to a guy that's on TV all the time. All right, quick break, a lot more. The Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
Where we go in life matters, and what we do matters. And we know that taking the wrong road won't produce the best outcomes. Hi, I'm Kathy with Baker Mortgage, and we want you to take the right path when it comes to your mortgage. We live in a world of information overload, but always consider the source. And these are not generally going to be from your big bank or a random offer that comes across your screen. Remember, you're always going to get a better deal on one that you go looking for than one that comes looking for you. You need to deal with somebody who gives a you-know-what, whether or not you're happy in the end. At Baker Mortgage, we do it right. We haven't been around for 68 years because we're lucky. We don't sell CDs, insurance, or anything else. We just provide a great mortgage experience. Isn't that what you're looking for? Call us at Baker Mortgage. I promise you'll be glad you did. We're at 281-313-MOVE or go directly to bakermortgage.com.
Equal housing lender. License number 263213.
This is Kevin O'Hara with O'Hara & Company Real Estate. Our country's founding fathers drafted a document that is the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. My friends at O'Hara & Company Real Estate, we believe we're at a precipice in time where we must take back our country. We must stand up for our freedoms or lose them forever. Please don't sit idle and let it slip away. Don't let anyone force you to do something you choose not to. As JFK said, if not us, who? If not now, when? If you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give O'Hara & Company Real Estate a call at 281-373-3393, 281-373-3393, or look us up on the web at o'harare.com. I'm Kevin O'Hara. God bless America, and God bless Texas.
Hi, I'm Tommy Mello with Garage Door Doctors. My mom recently moved into a new home with a builder-grade garage door. Noisy, flimsy, and not built to last, so we're fixing that. Mom, you're my hero. When I was growing up, she worked 3 jobs just to save our house.
And helped you build this company.
Now I'm giving her a beautiful new garage door that's built to last. The garage is 40% of your home's curb appeal. When it looks good and it works great.
Life is good. Thanks, Tommy.
From repairs to upgrades, call Garage Door Doctor today.
Matches back here in the Mac Z-Cliner. I'm recovering from surgery thanks in large part to this miracle chair, the Mac Z-Cliner. You can sit in it, you can recline in it, you can watch TV in it, you can eat in it, you can sleep in it. It goes to zero gravity position. The Mac Z-Cliner helped me recover. It also has heat and massage, a place to charge your cell phone. Come out to Gallery Furniture, buy a Mac Z-Cliner before your surgery. Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, or after your surgery, Gallery Furniture delivers tonight, and you'll sit and sleep great tonight.
Makes my ears red. It takes a lot to get me upset. But Chuck Schumer, no one respects you. The definition of a lying scumbag politician, that is you. You would be the definition if you Googled you right now. I mean, why don't he just come out and be honest with American people? He wants to have open borders. If you want to defund the Customs and Border Protection Agency, if you want to defund ICE, who is in there arresting the criminals that the laws were passed by you, you had time to change those during the Biden administration. You didn't, because you're for open borders and you're for the criminals running amok in our cities. And for you to say that is so disrespectful to the law enforcement that is out there protecting you, because he has a detail with him. How about he walks around these city streets without a detail? I wonder how safe he would feel.
Yeah, he would not feel very safe. That is Mark Wayne Mullen. That is a great job by the DHS secretary, the new one, saying that Chuck Schumer is a pile of crap. Which, by the way, I think that even Jon Stewart has criticized Schumer quite a bit. But Schumer is one of those people who pretends as though he doesn't understand how other people have struggles in life because he hasn't lived the same way that most of us has. He's been elite for quite some time because of his political position now. So, again, he'll say that we don't need certain protections in our society, and then everywhere he goes, he has his own security detail. It's just, it's so annoying. I don't know a better word for it because there's so much of it out there. But I thought Mark Wayne Mullen did a great job. And I remember that a lot of people debated his temperament. They're like, this guy gets too mad. He goes too crazy. He's not calm enough. I don't want calm. I truly don't. I don't want somebody that's actually punching people in the face, that's using the UFC fighting background to do some things that maybe you don't need to do. But I like somebody who says that he'll do it, that is like, go ahead and bring it. You want to hit me? I'll hit you back. I don't hate that. I don't hate any part of that. And even more, I like the tough talk without necessarily maybe the things that were the biggest problem for people like Kristi Noem, barreling into certain conversations before you have enough information to be right about the things you're saying. That seemed like the biggest mistake. Mark Wayne Mullen, at least so far, strikes me as someone who's not going to do that. I want to play one other piece of audio for SPLC before I move on. The organization that was indicted for funding a whole lot of terrorist groups and, I don't know, hate groups. Probably terrorist isn't the right thing. Hate groups and other things out there. They went after a lot of Catholics. They're the organization that helped the Biden administration identify people based on their faith, mostly Catholic faith, and say that they were radical and terrible and crazy. It's a real thing that happened during the Biden administration. The SPLC, which is a Democratic-funded organization, surprise, surprise, is at the forefront of a whole lot of this stuff. I thought Greg Gutfeld also did this pretty well when he talked about it. So let's play a little bit of Gutfeld before we come back to this topic, and then we'll move on to some other things.
And I go back to the contrast. We don't have to defend our racists because we don't know who they are because you create them. Meanwhile, we don't have to make up your racist because you're standing there with Hassan Piker. These guys are right there in our face.
The comparison, hold on, I gotta get. Can you say the victims that they don't exist or whatever? Yeah. The 23 people who died in the Walmart in El Paso, going to Buffalo, going to the Tree of Life Synagogue, those were all
that is
killed.
Not part of the. That is not part of the psyop or the false flag. Of course, you're violating.
Yeah, I like conflating those issues, by the way, which is what the attempt is there. But yeah, there's a lot of horrible people, terrible people in this society. it seems uniquely bad if your organization, your Democratic-funded organization, is handing a bunch of money to a lot of those people. That seems like that's something that we can judge in a vacuum, that we can say, hey, this seems like the kind of thing you shouldn't have been doing, and maybe people assumed you weren't doing, and now that we know you are, we get to judge you for it, and we get to judge how horrible and terrible you are as a group of people. All right, I'm going to move on. I thought this was interesting. Megyn Kelly had her latest rant against Trump. There's a lot of bad words in this audio, so I don't think I can play it. I know I can play parts of it. I know I cleaned up most of it. I'm not sure that I cleaned up all of it. I don't want to risk it. But essentially, Megyn Kelly said that there's aspects of President Trump's personality which are obviously not good. You know what? Actually, I'll play the beginning. I'll play the first part of this, and then I'll cut it off before she starts getting all curse heavy, and then we'll get into why some of what she's saying I think is actually interesting. Not because I agree with her. I think she's outing herself as the thing that a lot of people on the right, or at least people that claim they were on the right, have been for a while, which is secretly always anti-Trump. And she tries to bring it back at the very end of this clip, where she tries to say nice things about Trump, but it's far too late at that point. But here, let's play a little bit of this.
Like his personality. Yeah. But then the other truth of it is there are aspects of his personality which are obviously not good, and that we've mostly just chosen to overlook. You know, he's not a moral man. He's obviously not the greatest husband in the world. And he's extremely petty and thin-skinned. Extremely petty and thin-skinned.
And I knew about it, and I dealt with it, and I had issues with it. I'm going to go ahead and switch it because I know that bad words are coming. But yeah, she goes on to say that she was someone who supported Trump and that he's turned on her, and now she's someone who doesn't support him, even though it seemed that she turned on him first. But I thought there was a really interesting thing she gets to within this rant, and it's not just where she's saying that, you know, there's these issues with him as far as the person that he is goes, because the first thing I'll say about that is if you really felt that those issues, those accusations were important, you shouldn't have stood by him in 2024. You shouldn't have been someone who was willing to put those things aside if you think they're real and not some sort of political gamesmanship that's happening in our society. Because none of these are new things. None of the things that she references and she says about Trump are, discoveries that you probably just made. And the same is true for Tucker Carlson. People are saying the claims of Tucker, saying that he profoundly regrets helping Trump run in 2024. I would make the argument that President Trump has been one of the most well understood, I don't know if that's the right way to say it, but certainly fully fleshed out humans in the world of the political system long before 2024. This is someone that says what he thinks, that behaves however he thinks it's appropriate to behave, that puts whatever he wants on social media. He's not guarded and, dishonest or disingenuous or whatever a word you want to say like other political people are. He's not someone who will say something the politically correct way because he thinks he has to, because he's the president or anything else. So you knew who this person was. At least you know who the left claimed he was. And if you want to agree with the left now, why didn't you agree with them before? There's no valuable way for Megyn Kelly to say that she's suddenly discovered these issues that she didn't know about before, and now they're a problem, when I think she probably fully dismissed them, like many people who are Trump supporters do, as political and not real. But she goes on even beyond that to say that Trump is never loyal to anyone who supports him, that he'll throw you under the bus no matter what it is, and that people like Ben Shapiro and Mark Levin, who were anti-Trumpers at some point, are the people who are getting the most love from him now. I will say this about the current president of the United States. I do think that if you're someone who's helping him in this moment, whoever you are, whatever it is you're doing, that he constantly will acknowledge that. And he'll say something to the effect of, this is someone you should pay attention to right now or listen to right now. I mean, case in point is J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance was an ever-Trumper. At one point himself, he said certain crazy things, and then Trump put it all aside because he thought that Vance helped him on the ticket. He thought that Vance was doing a good job gaining younger support from younger voters, speaking a certain way, and J.D. Vance is the vice president right now. But I'll say it also this way, because this probably also matters. And this is the heart of what I'm trying to get to. I think there's a lot of people who've been in this political game for quite some time. Long before Trump, was the president of the United States or a person running for that office, and they think very highly of themselves. Megyn Kelly is in that group, for sure. Tucker Carlson is in that group, for sure. They think so highly of themselves that when Trump came along, they were anti-Trump. They didn't like him. They thought he was a joke at first. Then they thought he was a bully. Megyn Kelly displayed ways where she thought he was a bad person years ago. And then all that went away because he was popular and he won. And then, of course, that ebbs and flows. But they're getting back to that point where they've realized that Trump has just a few years left to be president and he won't be running again. And so now their true colors are showing because they think they can put him behind them. And it's a little too soon for that. I think it's a little too soon for anyone that supports him still, even as polls claim to say that he's no longer as popular as he used to be. I got a call. Let's go ahead and throw this caller on the air. What's your name?
Carlos.
Carlos, where are you calling from?
Hey, Spring?
Spring, what do you want to say, Carlos?
This is the second time I call you. I never call any other shows. I listen to a lot of them, but they're too aggressive, if you ask me.
Okay.
They don't like if they get a call from someone that doesn't agree with them, instead of trying to reason with the person, they try to bully the person, right? And I don't think you do that. So that's the reason
Thank you.
Like I said, the second time I call you. And I was talking about this exactly about Trump yesterday with my mother-in-law. Because my mother-in-law, she's always voted Democrat, right?
Sure.
In our house, we did too. I'm an independent. Like I think I told you that the first time I called you. Don't know if you remember, but in my house,
Sure.
we're independent. We're not chief from any party, right?
Yeah.
So I was talking to her why we started voting for Trump. And I told her exactly that. I don't like him. But I don't have to like him to understand he's doing stuff that is good for the country.
Sure.
But I'm going to be honest with you. I don't like the dude. I don't think he's a good person
Okay.
at all.
Yeah,
But
that's okay.
he's doing things that needed to be done for the country, and that's what I was trying to explain to her yesterday. And I think she got the picture because she's like, she doesn't like him either.
So wait.
And I was explaining to her the good
Yeah.
things he's doing.
Yeah.
And I think she got the picture.
Well, let me ask you this first, because you say you're an independent voter who voted for Trump.
Yeah.
News media tells me that you're not happy anymore, that people in your group regret voting for Trump. How do you feel in, April of 2026 about the support you gave to President Trump?
Well, like I said, I'm going to give you an example. My wife, we own a business, right? We spend a lot of fuel, diesel fuel, which is expensive right now,
Yeah.
obviously. And I don't care. He's doing what needs to be done. I'm not going to talk for other independents because I don't know many,
that's fine.
to be honest with you.
Me neither.
I don't know a lot of them.
Yeah.
But in our case, we're not complaining.
Yeah,
I'm happy with what he's doing.
I don't know a lot of real independents either. And I was living in Chicago where some people claim they were independent and they were definitely liberal and not independent before living here, where I meet a lot of people who think they're independent and some of them lean more conservative than they think they do. But I just think it's interesting to hear you say that because, I agree wholeheartedly that the gas that I'm paying for right now, well, it hurts, feels like a much better reason to pay a higher price fighting terrorism and the funding of terrorism than what we were doing before when people were fighting oil and gas companies. That would be the Biden administration and trying to make everybody buy an electric vehicle. I like this fight better. I would prefer no fight. I would prefer a world where gas was $2 again. That's absolutely what I would want. But if I have to pick something, this seems like the better thing to pick. Let me ask you this, since it's an interesting person to have on the phone. What else do you think Trump has done right that people aren't giving him a lot of credit for right now? What were you saying to your family member that you think is going well?
It's because they don't pay attention to what goes on around the world, right? They just live it like, this is what I describe to my kids. Don't live in a bubble.
Yeah.
Live in the world, right? So most of the people that I know live in a little bubble. Let's say a few blocks or maybe Texas or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you got to pay attention to what's going on around the world because this is what I tell my kids. Whatever happens in China, if it's something good or bad, eventually it's going to affect us in a good or in a bad way, right? We saw that with COVID, for example.
Yes, we did.
So that's what I think he's doing right. They don't pay attention. They just care about, the gas is expensive. And that's the only thing they see. And I teach my kids, no, you got to pay attention to the whole freaking world because what happens in Iran, for example, one day you're traveling, you get kidnapped by a terrorist sponsored by Iran.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's what they don't pay attention to. They only pay attention to what goes on locally.
Well, and what's funny is there's times when the main media machine and the left will tell you that what happens globally does matter. They'll tell you that, oil and gas prices are negotiated at a global level when it's Biden who's causing them to spike. They'll say it's not really the president who has in control of that. Then they'll try to hyper-focus you when the position doesn't help them. Actually, I really love the way that Chris Rock would joke about it. He says conservatives lie. He's obviously not, a right-wing guy. So he accuses Republicans of being liars, and then he accuses the left of being people who conveniently leave out pieces of the truth, which is also lying. It's just lying in a way that he likes more. And it's true that there's a lot of politicians on both sides who blatantly lie or deceive you by leaving certain aspects out of whatever it is they're talking about. Thank you for the call, man.
Okay, I'll keep listening to you. Like I said, if any chance I get, I'll give you a call because I do like your show. You're different.
Thanks.
And I like it.
Thanks, man. I appreciate the kind words. And if you do disagree with me, that's okay, too. I'm fine with that. And I'm not going to try to bully anybody. I like that he said that. That's not really my desire. But if I do disagree with you and you won't shut up when I'm talking, which was not Carlos. Carlos was super respectful there. But I'm thinking of a caller from the day before. I will put you on hold so I get to talk and you have to be quiet because it's the benefit I get of being the radio host. If I want to talk and you want to talk at the same time, unlike in my house, I get to win this debate. Sometimes when you're talking and the wife is talking at the same time, you got to shut up because the missus really wants to talk and you need to realize you're not going to be able to talk. And if you keep going, she might start throwing shoes. I'm married to a Mexican woman, so she's pretty good with a chancla. But I think that, again, in this world, in this thing, I'll just put you on hold. So it's just a warning for anybody out there. You can say things that disagree with me. That's totally fine. It's welcome on this show. If you talk over me too much, it's not going to work out as well. All right, we're going to take a break. A lot to get to, a lot to talk about, and very little time left to do it. I like to do silly stuff at the end of the show, so I will do that. One last programming note. Actually, I should put out there, I will not be here tomorrow, but my show will be. Through the magic of radio, you will hear the Craig Collins Show from 6 to 7 o'clock, but I won't be here. I got Yankee tickets. The Yankees will be in town playing your Houston Astros. So most people here in town would call it an Astros game that I will be attending. I'm going to call it a Yankee game, but I'll get to go tomorrow. And I'm very happy about one thing. I know this isn't a sports show, and I won't do a lot of sports talk, although the NFL draft is tonight, and I'm tempted to talk a little bit about that. But nonetheless, the other thing I'll say is I'm happy the Yankees are now playing bad baseball teams, including the Red Sox, because we were playing about as poorly as the Astros have been playing up until a few days ago. So going into this series between the Astros and the Yankees, at least the Yankees are now kicking the crap out of bad baseball teams, but the Astros are the Astros, man. And they seem to always have the Yankees number. So even as I go in a little bit confident, I'm sure this audio will come back to bite me when the Astros somehow sweep the Yankees starting tomorrow. But you'll hear the show, but you won't see me. There won't be any video version because the magic of radio will be helping us do. And we will have a Veteran Voices segment. I had an awesome veteran record something with me yesterday, so you will hear that tomorrow at 6:30. Quick break, a lot more. The Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas.
If you have roof problems, you can sure see them when it rains. This is Deb Tejada from Tejas Roofing. If you see a leak, call me immediately, 281-251-0304. I'll send over the Tejas Roof Repair truck.
That truck has everything our experienced crew needs to fix your roof, right then and there.
The Tejas Roofing crew has been working together fixing leaky roofs for 15 years.
It's not a pretty truck, but it has everything we need to get the job done. I kind of like the way it looks.
Most roofing repairs cost less than $500. Why? Because we find the cause of the leak and repair that leak. We won't try to sell you services you don't need.
And we'll fix it right away because everything we need is in our truck.
Don't put off fixing a leaky roof. Call me at Tejas Roofing and I'll send over the truck. 281-251-0304. When you think of roofing repairs or a new roof, think Tejas Roofing, your Houston roofing company. 281-251-0304. That's Tejas Roofing, 281-251-0304.
Plumbing emergencies never happen at a convenient time. Usually they happen on the weekends, holidays, or while you're away on vacation. I'm Richard Sod, president of Nick's Plumbing. When you find yourself facing a plumbing emergency, call the licensed and experienced professionals at Nick's Plumbing and Sewer Services. Nick's Plumbing has been Houston's first choice for all your plumbing needs since 1979. Our experts can take your most difficult plumbing issues and fix them fast, fix them right, and usually...
A breast cancer diagnosis can turn your world upside down, but your Houston Methodist team assures you they'll use the latest cancer research and technologies, collaborating to treat and remove the tumor and reconstruct your breasts, restoring symmetry, sensation, and your sense of self. That's the difference between practicing medicine and leading it for you. Houston Methodist, leading medicine.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
This is the Craig Collins Show, KSEV, KGBC, the voice of Texas. It is time for a quick 4-ish segment. These are sillier topics that I like to do to get us away from the serious stuff that is most of the news that we talk about every single day from 6 to 7 o'clock on this show. The U.S. government is nearing a rescue package for Spirit Airlines. This may include the U.S. government owning a lot of Spirit Airlines, which might have a fringe benefit. I'm not really sure. But Spirit's not a great airline. They're the kind of airline that charges you for everything. I feel like eventually you're going to have to put a quarter in the restroom to go to the bathroom while on a flight. But I did find some audio of people talking about why they like flying Spirit Airlines. So I figured I'd play it because, darn it, if Spirit might be owned by the U.S. government, at least it's good to know that some people are going to be flying it and happy about the amount of costs that seem to be connected to something like this. Here we go.
Spirit has a lot of affordable options for us, well, most affordable.
This is the only one I use. Especially during spring break season, these are the cheapest tickets to get down there.
I love that it's just 3 voices, by the way, and 2 of them are young people that seem to say that they want to go on fun vacations, and the fun vacations will be more easily accessible through a Spirit flight. I've flown that airline before. I'm not above saving some money, so it's not like I'm going to pretend as though I'm too good for it. I've definitely flown it. I've done the version where all you have is a backpack because you don't want to pay any of the fees for anything. So you bring on just enough clothes to make it a few days. And I've gone, actually, this is kind of funny. And I don't think it was Spirit. I think it was another budget airline, Aeromexico, that you can get pretty decent tickets. That's not what it's called. It's something else. It's Volaris. There it is. That's the one. I've flown Volaris with my wife to Mexico before. And they actually fly out of Houston, which is kind of cool. And they fly directly to San Luis Potosí, which is where my wife is from, in Mexico. And it's relatively cheap, but it's another Spirit Airlines type of thing. I've gone for like 2 weeks to Mexico and only brought a backpack. And then you acquire some things there. Luckily, my wife stays in her parents' home, and so we leave some stuff in a spare bedroom. So I do have some clothes there for when I go. But I love that, man. And people do look at you like you're crazy when you're flying internationally and you have almost nothing when you show up at the airport. Like the person taking your ticket judges you, and they shouldn't be judging you, man. They work for the Spirit Airlines of Mexico, a version of a thing. We should all be on the same page here. You know what I'm doing. I know what you're doing. I'm trying to save money and still go to Mexico, somewhere I haven't been in a while now. I feel like I need to visit my wife's family again, and she's probably going to visit her family again soon. So who knows? And we very well might fly Volaris. The only thing I don't like about that airline, outside of the fact that it's another one of the ones that charges you little fees for everything, is that they're only flying on specific days. Like you can't go Monday through Sunday any day you want. That's not how that works. They have like a Tuesday flight, then a Thursday flight, and then maybe a Saturday flight, and you get to pick from those options. And then return flights are different days. It's interesting, but it's definitely affordable, way more affordable than other options. And that's what most people care about who fly now is how much is it going to cost me, not how convenient is it. And actually, I'm very jealous. I'll say one last thing. I don't mean to rant about this topic, but I'm very jealous of people who remember air travel when it was at a premium and when they could afford it, I guess, when things were nice and everything was so elegant in the air. because we've definitely changed from our society of that version of an experience, hopping in a plane, to the version we get now, because I do want two things. I want the cheapest ticket, and I want the plane to successfully take off and successfully land. And that's pretty much it. I don't require anything else. I want to get there alive, and I want to pay as little as possible to do that. And I think I'm a pretty typical customer in the world of air travel in today's society. And this is so weird, but I saw this went viral. A British conductor knocked a violin out of a soloist's hand during a concert. This would almost never be the kind of thing I would play for you on the radio. I doubt you even really care about this at all, to be honest. And yet, the fact that the violin costs $1 million is the reason this thing went viral. And there's a screech and a scream that someone lets out on the recording when the violin gets knocked to the ground. I find that hilarious. If I were at a concert like this, I assume someone might have dragged me to this type of concert, because it's not usually the sort of music I'm going to go see. But if I'm sitting there and watching an orchestra and they bring out the $1 million violin and everybody celebrates it, and then the conductor punches it out of somebody's hand, I'm going to be the loudest person laughing in that audience and probably get kicked out because I'll find that funny. Here we go. I didn't even hear the scream. I was told it was in there. I saw the reaction to this video. Let's hit it again. It's supposed to hit the stage 5 seconds in, and then you hear a scream, but the thing was too loud. I couldn't hear it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I hear the thud. I don't really hear the scream, but apparently someone was freaking out. You can see it in the video where the lady's going crazy that got this punched out of her hand. I know you can't see it for most of the audience because it's radio, but I find this uniquely hilarious. Again, that they have some fancy violin that they pull out of somewhere that you're probably not supposed to use, and somebody uses it, and then, of course, that's the thing they drop. I don't know. It's human nature. It feels like when it's an accident, it's a good thing. If it's on purpose, I think it's terrible. All right, other things out there. There's a new term for people that I think this is mostly relevant to people who are in the dating world. I'm a married man. I've been married for several years now, so this is not something that really matters to me. The term is called the Cinderella Rule. It's establishing a cutoff time to go to bed, a time where you're no longer going to have fun, whether you're on a date or just hanging out with friends. You pretend as though you will turn into a pumpkin at some point in the night, and you have to go home. And you agree on this time, I guess, before you go out. It's sort of like adding a curfew to your evenings out as an adult human. We all had a curfew at some point growing up as a kid, even as a teenager. And then eventually, of course, you live on your own. Curfew is no longer a thing. The reason I sort of thought this rule was funny, though, the Cinderella rule, is it's only young people that need this. When you get to a certain age, I think Father Time, or just your biological clock, whatever you want to call it, tells you shouldn't be out past a certain time of night. When it gets to be like 10:30, 11, and you're older than, say, I don't know, in your 30s, I'm 40 now, at some point there, you all of a sudden say, yeah, I'm done. This is over. I'd like to be home now. If someone invites you to something and it starts at like 9:30, you're not going. That's not something you even want to consider trying to go to, because it'd be so difficult to be awake. My wife and I have been invited. She has a younger group of colleagues at the job she has here in town, and occasionally they invite us out to stuff, and we go. The wife wants me to go. She wants to be nice with her coworkers. I like the fact that even though they're younger people, they go out and drink with their colleagues, because there's a lot of young people who don't do that anymore. There's a lot of people who don't go to the bar after, the day of working together for whatever reason. I know I've seen studies about that and how much camaraderie actually comes from hanging out a little bit outside of the office. So I'm glad that her office does this. And it's a decent amount of 20-somethings that invite her out. And I go, and we're both there, and we have the same conversation by like 9:30, 10 o'clock every night, where we definitely want to leave. And then we find a way to leave. Actually, when you're old enough to not feel all that worried about offending someone, you also tell them that it's your bedtime and you go home. And then you get to bed by 10, 11 o'clock, and you feel so great. This is funny. My wife will laugh if she's listening to the show about this, because it almost never happens. I barely ever do it. But when you go to bed early on a Friday or a Saturday night, and then you wake up early on a Saturday or a Sunday, it feels great. You got a full 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours of sleep, whatever it is that you need, not just 4, 5, 6. That might be your regular amount of sleep you get for some of us in this world. You get a decent amount, and it's still early enough in the day to have a full weekend day. The young kids don't know what they're missing by not doing it that way. That's something uniquely wonderful in our society. All right, one last thing, and then I'll get out of here. We're almost done with the show. Teachers shared the dumbest things their students have ever done in their classrooms. This was a Reddit post that went very viral. A lot of people said a lot of students did very, very dumb things. A teacher was explaining how dangerous UV rays are in sunlight, and a student asked, if the sun is so dangerous, why did we build it? That was one of the things that went viral. Not looking too good. I don't know about the debate about UV lights and UV rays and whatnot, but I do love that some kid out there thought that we built the sun. A student said they were having a baby boy or girl, that having a baby boy or girl was determined by whether or not they had an innie or an outie belly button. That's adorable. That's not actually stupid in a way. It depends on how old that person is, by the way, too, actually. If that person is like 3, 4, 5 years old, that's adorable. If they're 15, that's more of a problem. And then one last one that went viral. A teacher asked what year it was, and she shared 2008, 2012, 1985, or 2020. And then a student asked if she could look it up on her phone because a student in a class, I think this was a high school, didn't remember what year we were in. That's not a good look. Some things are probably not so great for our society. That's probably one of those right there. Thank you to the teachers who do yeoman's work to teach these people anything. All right, that's it. That's the whole show. I'm out of here today. Like I said, tomorrow you'll hear the show, but I'll be at a Yankee game. I'll talk to you guys next week.
You're listening to the Voice of Texas, AM 7.